Here we go?
Yeah.
Yay! Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon. I'm the Dean of Graduate Research at Flinders University, and welcome to Vlog 29. Who knew? Vlog 29. And this one we're looking at the Doctorate and Disability and the Doctorate. And I have a friend who's joined me today. This is quite an echoey room too, if you realise this is quite an echo, but that's exciting because it sounds like we have very, very big voices. So this is going to be fantastic. But I've got a friend to join us today who is also a fan of Doctor Who, so this is big for me. This is big about Doctor Who, it's big about disability. It's the 3 Ds today, Doctor Who, disability and the Doctorate.
Nice.
Wonderful Kirsten Read is with me today. She is a legend. I met you 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Maybe. Yeah.
You were training me.
When you first started,
No, she was training me, so I went, this woman is so talented, she needs to train all of us. So your formal role, and I will get this right, is a disability advisor in Health Counselling and Disability Services. Now that's quite a significant bundle, I think.
That is, that's right.
So I'm so thrilled to welcome you to the vlog.
Thank you for having me.
Our wonderful PhD and Master students get to have a look at you. And this issue matters a lot to us. As we talked about when you were training me, we focused very strongly on the enabling doctorate. So we know that in Australia about 20% of Australians have an impairment or a disability. In some disciplines around the world, 1 in 10 PhD students have an impairment or disability of some kind. So as we've often talked about, this is not an issue or a problem that happens to other people. This happens to us, this happens to people that we love and care about, and while you may not have an impairment right now, through a candidature, many things can happen in your life. So thank you for being here.
No problem, thank you for having me.
You are fantastic. And the first question I suppose I have is, made in universities, we often focus on undergraduate support for students with disabilities, and doctoral candidates and research masters candidates tend to be a bit invisible in disability support. Is that just about numbers, like there's only a few of us?
But good question, Tara. Numbers does play a big part.
Yeah.
We see a lot of undergrad students who have a disability, but also I think the accommodations we set up for undergrads is more straightforward. For example, asking for an extension or having some exam arrangements, more straightforward to implement. I think also because doctorate students have that relationship with their supervisor, they don't want their supervisor necessarily to know what their medical condition is. So there's some concerns around confidentiality, and sometimes I think they just don't know we exist, so not knowing about the service.
And that's really powerful too. We're going to talk about privacy because privacy matters a lot in this, but I think that's a really powerful thing to say about the relationship between the student and the supervisor as being a mitigation in disability support. I hadn't thought about that. So that's quite significant, I think. There's lots of issues we have to deal with in a PhD. It's physically demanding, it's over a long period of time, but it also has an emotional intensity that perhaps is not matched in any other degree. So what sort of services do you think would be available at Flinders if people are feeling a bit troubled or stressed, or they're feeling that anxiety moving up?
Look, our counselling service is fantastic, very experienced counsellors, and you don't need to wait until you're in a crisis or things are going really bad to see a counsellor. The counsellors can be a bit like a cheer squad, on the side. If you sometimes relationship issues with your supervisor or people you're working with, colleagues, other students, and you just want to bounce some stuff off or have a chat with someone who's separate, who's confidential, a counsellor could be that person. Or if it's around study-related things or motivation, pretty much anything. Yeah, they're a great team.
And I've been so impressed by them, guys and gals, because it's a characteristic of students that don't finish. And one of the characteristics of students that don't finish is that they suspend or they intermit their candidature. And the wonderful counselling service have been so powerful on this because they've said to a lot of you out there, look, don't intermit, because if that doesn't solve the problem, it's not going to go away. So by actually having a counselling intervention and saying, let's talk through this challenge, you can stay enrolled. So that's really quite powerful, I think.
That's right, and students are here with a passion for their doctorate, so to build on those strengths and build on that passion, it's not, I don't see, yes, I think some students are scared of seeing a counsellor, but the counsellors are just so strengths focused. Let's start from where you're at, where your strengths are.
And solve the problem. I just think that's so empowering in life to say, look, the problem's not going to go away if we just kick it to touch. Let's handle this issue as part of the doctorate. So I've been so impressed by your team, and they've really transformed a lot of students' lives. So that's brilliant. Where we're going to get into now is something you know a huge amount about, and that is Australia and Australian universities and workplaces more generally have put in place these disability action plans. I think it's in the law as well about the disability action plans. Now the challenge is, what would one of those look like for a PhD student? Do we have them in place already?
We have access plans for students, PhD students. Ideally for us, we love to meet students right at the beginning, but as you mentioned, things change throughout your PhD, and perhaps at the beginning you think, I'm coasting along okay, I don't need extra support, but halfway through there's a new diagnosis, or things change, or the stress builds up and you're in a place where you're thinking, no, it's not working, what's happening is not working. So we can set up access plans later on in throughout the study as well. But things like Auslan interpreters or study assistants, specialised software, computer setups, or just helping to negotiate with faculty around, students with back injuries that need a special, a chair that's going to work.
All those great desks.
The sit-up desks, all that kind of stuff we can help negotiate with. If you're going to a conference and you're not able to do that independently, you need some kind of assistant. We can look at how could we make this work? How can we do this with what your medical condition is?
And see, that's phenomenal, because often when we think about disability action plans, we think about, it'll add time to a candidature. But actually it can be so many more, and your multi-phasic support structures that are in place beyond simply time.
That's right. And there are, definitely time is another big one for students. Maybe you take longer to read, or longer to write, or longer to process to get through the PhD, and so it's really worth sitting down and having a chat about, one, how you're going to fund the extra time, how can we look at other scholarships or other things, or rather than taking a break, do we somehow work out a part-time arrangement so that you're still doing a little bit of study along the way? And
as we've talked about, this university has deeply committed to this. Our Vice-Chancellor is committed to this. Our Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Rob Saint, bless them all, have committed to this. We are an enabling university. We mean it. And one of the ways we show that we really mean it is where the rubber meets the road for these disability action plans. So it really helps us, and I think it helps the planning for students too. What is this candidature going to look like? And that helps the completion of the thesis as much as the impairment, I think. Really significant.
Definitely.
Let's get into the services that are available. There's so much that you guys do. It even surprised me. When students are thinking, look, what is available to help me? Could you give us a list or a vibe about what's available?
There is a lot. Through the Health Counselling Disability Services, we have GP, nurses, counsellors, disability advisors as a start. But through that, we have lots of connections with things around scholarships, around international student support, Think Well workshops, which are...
they're brilliant. The imposter syndrome stuff as well,
So looking at those, even training for staff here at university around disability or mental health or other things that are going on, we can help negotiate for that, and orientation programs that we run too. So
tell you what we should do, and I want the students to give us feedback on this. You and I as a family should probably think about supervision and supervisory training for students with an impairment. I've never done a lunchtime workshop on that. I wonder if we should.
Why not?
Should we do that?
Yeah.
If it would be useful, you tell us about your experiences with your supervisors in terms of impairment management. Tell us what we need to do, and we'll try and create a bespoke structure to enable our supervisors as much as our students. So you tell us, and we'll try and come up with something.
I like it.
That's exciting. Yeah. And that, of course, leads to my next point that you touched on at the start, which is the issue of privacy. Now, privacy is incredibly important to the work that you do. It's incredibly important to the work that I do and how we think about this issue. Now, a student does not legally have to disclose their impairment at any point. I have an impairment, for example, I'm happy to disclose it, but if you have an impairment, you can't get the support unless you disclose to your office. Is that correct?
That's correct. There is, if you want some supports or some adjustments, you do need to disclose, but you don't have to disclose to the broader university or your supervisor. You can come and talk to us. Our IT notes and systems are not connected to Flinders Connect or enrolment or academic notes, so supervisors, lecturers can't access any of our stuff. To set up an access plan, we do need a letter from your doctor or your primary practitioner, but once again that stays confidential in our service. So the access plan we set up does not have a diagnosis or what a student's condition is on it, unless of course the student has agreed to this, and it will help for them to negotiate what they need. It just says what adjustments they might need, what supports do they need for their studies, based on being eligible for an access plan.
And see, that's great, because a large number, by my remembrance from the research literature, about 40% of impairments are invisible impairments. So obviously, when there's a physical mobility concern, it tends to be more visible, but so many impairments are invisible, and you need to know, if you disclose, there is a privacy manifesto around what you do and certainly what we do as well, and that does matter.
That's right, it does. And some students just have that sense of complete relief when they go, I don't have to tell everybody everything to justify what I need.
Because it gets upsetting for so many men and women that they're almost coming out, and they're having to come out over and over again. And there's something very powerful about your office. Tell us once, tell us what you need, and we will handle it from there. There's something really wonderful about that. I'm very, very glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Very glad. Last party, a lot of people watch these vlogs from around the world. And a lot of people watch these vlogs who are thinking of doing a PhD. I just had a couple of guys and gals in my office who are about to apply. And that's important, because so many barriers are often in place for men and women with impairments, and we're trying to make the point, you talk to us, you come to Flinders, we will look after you, you come to Flinders. What would you advise for men and women who perhaps are in our program now and haven't disclosed and might need some support, or are thinking of coming to Flinders and joining the program? What would you suggest?
Come and have a confidential chat. Disability advisors now have online bookings. You can just book an appointment online.
You're so digital.
We are. If you can't come in, we can ring you. So if you're in a place where it's too hard to come on campus, and once again, what we talk about is confidential, it doesn't go anywhere, and then you can choose if you want an access plan or if you want to negotiate something with your supervisor, but if you don't, you don't. But I think it's nice to at least have a chat and work out what options there might be available for you. Yeah.
See, that is absolutely amazing. So the most important thing is you pick up the phone and talk to these wonderful guys and gals, pick up the phone, talk to me, and I will pass on all the details, wonderful Kirsten. This really matters. This is what this university stands for. We stand for social justice with excellence. That's what this office is about. That's what your office is about. This isn't about lowering barriers. This isn't about mediocrity. This isn't about making excuses. This is about creating excellence through difference. And so that's what we try and do. We also should do a big shout out to the wonderful Daryl, who is the inspiration for this session today. He's an amazing human being. He's, I believe, halfway through his PhD. We are thrilled with you, Daryl. I know you watch these every week. Hi, mate. Lovely to see you. Yay! And Kirsten, on behalf of the Office of Graduate Research, on behalf of the wonderful students and staff who watch these, thank you for all that you do. You are a special, brilliant woman, and I feel very lucky at this university that you are supporting what we do.
Oh, I think I should shout out to my team, because it's not just me. There's 4 disability advisors, so get in touch with any one of us. Yeah, there's Paula, Tony, Liz and myself.
And they're all amazing, and they have trained me well, I hope. I hope I've represented you well.
That's been good.
You're amazing. So thank you for your time. As always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I wish you love, light and peace. She's brilliant, eh? Bye-bye.
Thanks. See ya. Did that go all right?
You